Counsel, whenever you're ready. Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, can you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, stating and spelling your first and last name? Quincy Hayes. QUINCENT HAYES. And how old are you, Mr. Hayes? 26. And do you currently live outside of the state of Illinois? Yes. How far did you go in school? To my senior year of high school. And which schools did you attend? I went to Finger, I went to Hirsch, I went to Excel. I went to a few different schools, Thornton. And why did you switch around to these different schools? A lot of fighting and getting to it with people. A lot in school. And are you currently employed? Yes. And without telling me who you work for, can you tell me what type of work that you do? Construction. And where did you grow up? I grew up in Chicago. And what neighborhood? The Woodlawn area. And specifically, I'm going to direct your attention to 2014. Where did you live at that time? At that time, I lived in Inglewood. In Inglewood? Yes. And what blocks did you live on at that time? 72nd and May. Before you moved to Inglewood, you say you grew up in Woodlawn. Yes. And when did you move to Inglewood? I moved to Inglewood around 2014 time. Somewhere around that time. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your prior criminal history. You have 2 felony convictions in your background. Is that correct? Yes. And is one of those convictions for breaking into auto tanks where fuel is stored? Yes. And were you convicted of that offense in March of 2022? Yes. Were you also convicted at the same time of drugs distribution of methamphetamine? Yes, ma'am. And were you sentenced on those cases to 5 years of probation? Yes, ma'am. Are you currently on probation for those cases in another state? Yes, ma'am. And the government issued a subpoena to testify here today. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And has the acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, Morris Pasquale, issued an immunity letter? Yes, ma'am. And you're testifying under the protection of the immunity letter here today. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And what's your understanding of what it means that you have immunity protection? It basically means like I have to tell the truth about everything, even if I was involved in. It has to be accurate and a complete truth. And what does it mean with respect to any charges against you? I won't be in trouble for anything if I tell the truth about everything. And does it mean that you cannot be indicted on I can't be arrested for anything, indicted on anything, for any charges? And what is your understanding of what you are required to do pursuant to that letter? Tell the complete truth and accurate truth about everything that's going on with the case that I know about. And what happened if the United States Attorney Office determines that you have lied during your testimony here today? They take away my immunity and I get charged with whatever I'm lying about and perjury. And you said and perjury. If you don't tell the truth, yes, ma'am. And you understand what that means? Yes, ma'am. Did you also expect to receive payment for your travel here from out of state from the United States government? Yes, ma'am. And also for your housing while you're here as well? Yes, ma'am. Are you currently a member of a gang? No, ma'am. Were you? Were you formerly a member of a gang? Yes, ma'am. And which gang? I was a Goonie. And when did you become a member of the Goonie gang? Around 2013, 2014, somewhere in that time frame. And do you recall how you became a member of that gang? It was basically like a blessing. I didn't have to really do nothing. And when you say blessing, what do you mean by that? Like, basically, like, you don't get initiated or nothing like that. You just like, you're good to go. You're a part of us, your family. So did anyone bring you around the gang and vouch for you? Yes, ma'am. And who was that? Roscoe. And what is Roscoe's last name? Blackman. And when did you stop being a member of the gang? I stopped being a member of the gang when I got shot. And when was that? February 4th of 2015. Did you have a nickname within the gang? Yes, ma'am. And what was that? Man, man. Man, man. Man, man. Do you know where the name came from? No, I already had that name. It was just a nickname. Are you familiar with the term Goonie boss? Yes. And in your mind, is there anything different between Goonie boys and Goonie gang? Not really. Did members of the Goonie gang have different roles? Yeah. And what were some of the different roles that different individuals had within the Goonie gang? Objection, foundation. Do you want to lay a foundation, counsel? Sure. Sustained. How long were you a member of the Goonie gang? I was a member from 2013, 2014. When I got shot with them, I had stopped the day I was shot. After being a member of the gang, were you able to see what different members of the gang did? Yes, ma'am. And were you able to interact with them on a daily basis? Yes, ma'am. And were you able to see the different things that different individuals within the gang did on a daily basis? Yes, ma'am. And did they have different roles throughout the time that you were a member of Goonie? Yes, ma'am. And what were some of the roles? Well, you have a role like people be shooters, and then you got car thieves, and then you got like some people sell a little weed here and there. That's about it though. And what was your role within the gang? I would take cars and sometimes do the shootings. At this time, what was the territory of the Goonies? At this time, we used to be on 71st and Aberdeen. And you said you lived at 72nd and May, correct? Yes, ma'am. Was that block Goonie block? No. And did that cause you any problems living on 72nd and May being a Goonie? Yes. And what type of things would you have to do? Stay at different people's houses, like lay low because I couldn't go in the area. Were there different rivals, gangs that the Goonies had during the time you were a member of the Goonie gang? Yes. And who were some of the members of the rival gangs? Third Gang, J-Town, Push Squad. It was a couple of different people. Was there a name that the Goonies called the rivals for short? Say that again, ma'am. Was there a term that the Goonies used to refer to the rival games? Oh yeah, we call them ops. And what did the Goonies do to their ops? If they see the ops, they shoot them, chase them, try to kill them every day. And what would the ops do to the Goonies? Retaliate, do the same thing. And were you around for some of these shootings? Yes. And how often would the Goonies go out shooting during the time that you were a Goonie? Every day. And about how often during the day? If you catch pretty much all day, if you could, you probably get up in the morning around 7 and go searching.